Hey there, so today we will discuss about the floating point data type. As we already know, in order to, for example, create a variable, first of all, we need to type in the variables data type, and we have already encountered with int data type, right? So for example, if we would like to create a int variable, we can simply type in int value 1 equals to maybe 9. Likewise, whenever we create a floating point data type, we can make use of floating point data types. Now there are two floating point data types. First one is float. Let me type in float and let me add yet another variable as value 2 maybe. So I will again give the value as 9. So this is a floating point data type which is highlighted in front of us, value 2. And if I print these value directly on the console, what would be the output? So let me type in value 1. So value 1 equals value 1. So this seems to be good enough. Let me copy this line of statement, and value 2 is value 2. All right, so now if we print this on the console, then what would be the output? Here we go. So the first significant difference is that integer value is always a whole value, but the floating point data types are also capable of handling digits after the decimal points. So whenever we would like to deal with the numbers which includes decimal points and value after the decimal point, definitely we would be making use of floating point number. Now in here, making use of floating point variable is good, but we need to also explicitly specify Java that which kind of value we would be storing inside this float variable. There could be two values. First type could be float and the second type could be double value. Now what is the difference between float and double? Now as the name suggests, float is a floating point number, which is okay. Double is a floating point number with double precision. Let me add in a double variable. So I will type in double, maybe value 3, and I will again give the value as 9 maybe. And let me copy the line of statement once again, and I suppose it is already copied and is in our clipboard. All right, and now let me execute this and the output would be definitely same. So double and floating point both are floating point data types, which is simple. Now if we would like to understand what is the space occupied by these variable float and double, then float will occupy 32-bit space in memory. Similar to int also occupy 32-bit memory in space, and double occupies 64-bit space in memory. Definitely it is more precise. Now friends, in Java there are some preferences given to specific data type. Now int is preferred whenever we make use of integer type of variable. Likewise, double is preferred whenever we make use of double type of data type. So whenever in Java you code, try to make use of double. Why double? First reason is it is more precise. Second reason is your program will work faster if you make use of double instead of float. Likewise, int data type is preferred above short, long, byte data types when it comes to integer type of data type. Alright, so this was it. Okay, so let us quickly summarize that what we have learned till now. There are two floating point data type in Java. First one is float, second one is double. Double data type are preferred over float, and whenever we would like to deal with floating point variable or floating point values instead, then definitely we make use of floating point data type, which is very simple. Alright, so moving forward, there is one very small little thing, but a recommended thing, that whenever we are assigning some value to a float variable or a double variable, in order to tell explicitly Java which kind of value we would be storing in the variable, we need to specify these literals. So in here, I can make use of f. F is specified that this value is a float value. Likewise, we can make use of D, and D will specify Java that the value we are trying to store in this variable value 3 is a double precision entity. So let me execute this program and there won't be any change in the output. Alright, so this is good enough. Moving forward, there are a couple of more things. For example, I divide 9 by 2 and 9f by 2f and 9d divided by 2d. Then in this case, the output would be, let me show, here we go. So whatever value is after the decimal point, definitely that would be truncated when it comes to integer type of variable. So that is something we know. Moving forward, whenever we are dividing a floating point number, definitely we are able to check a proper result. Now here is the change. Let me change this value 2 and replace this with 3. Now you would be able to understand what is precision. So let me execute this. Now till now we are not able to identify that what exactly is the difference between a float variable and a double variable, for the simple reason that the output was similar, right? So let me make some further changes in here. Let me divide 10 with maybe 6. So if I divide 10 with 6, then what would be the output? Let me execute this, and here we go. So the precision in our double variable is much higher, and if we count, these would be 16 digits. Likewise in here the precision is much lesser, and I suppose these were 7 digits. So the precision is definitely double in our double variable. The precision in a float variable is 8, I suppose, and 16 in a double variable. Alright, so this was a major difference as well. Now before we end this video, let us quickly take an exercise that will boost your confidence using these variables. So first of all, let us comment out whatever we have already coded. Now the way of multi-line comment is pretty simple. We start with /* and we end with //, and the way of single line comment is //. So this is cool. Now moving forward, we will calculate percentage of a whole number. So a whole number could be easily occupied by a int variable. So we will type an int. The name of the variable could be like marker, and the value could be, for example, 100 to start with, in order to check whether our program is working properly or not. Now a percentage could be easily a floating point number. As a result, we will type in double, and the name of the variable could be like percentage. This is a good name, and we will try to calculate what is the 46% of the value inside this variable marker. And in order to calculate the percentage, the formula is pretty simple. We will multiply this marker with 0.46 maybe. So we are simply calculating 46% of the value inside marker. Now this 0.46 is a floating point number, so we will make use of f notation, and this will help Java to understand that this particular variable is a float entity. So this seems to be good enough, and moving forward we will simply print the value of this percentage. So we will type in sysout and hit Ctrl plus space. Alright, then we will type in percentage colon, and then we will make use of the concatenation operator, which is plus in Java. Plus is a overloaded operator which can concatenate stuff, and it can also add two entities. So there are multiple usage of plus, and we will definitely check operators in greater detail in the forthcoming videos. Alright, so in here then we will type in percentage. So this seems to be good enough, and let me run this program, and the output should be 46, which is perfect. Now friends, let us change this marker with, for example, 512. Now if we would like to calculate what is 46% of 512, then definitely our program will give us a proper output, and here is the percentage. So this is how we can make use of variables and data types, and definitely we can mix match variable, where we make use of different type of variable. We can perform operations, we can store values properly, and we can do whatever we want to do with this variables and data type. Now what is variable? Variable are the container where the value would be stored, and we need to also specify that which kind of this container would be used. So this kind of variable is nothing but data type. So we need to also specify the data type for your variable. So overall, I suppose the explanation was good enough, and I suppose that overall explanation is easy to understand. Thanks for listening, take care, and I will catch you in the next video with a new explanation.